Every year around Halloween, we are treated to an outpouring of what could only be described as scare literature, telling us about how the holiday is satanic and evil and should not be celebrated by Christians. These opinions are backed up by some rather unusual and very frightening fantasies masquerading as historical facts. The following videos are not intended to address whether or not Satan exists, nor to show that witches are nice granola-eating vegetarians and tree huggers who wouldn't harm a fly. Nor is it an attack on fundamentalist Christians, but rather a discussion concerning some of the so-called facts offered in some anti-Halloween publications.
Up until the mid-70s, Halloween was celebrated by everyone. It was nothing but harmless fun. As a matter of fact, even some evangelical churches were turned into a haunted house. Just for fun. So you may ask, what happened? Along comes Mike Warnke. Back then a serious nut job and one of the main force against Halloween.
Can you tell us just something about how you came to the Lord, or just exactly how you got led to Him?
To the Lord?
Yeah.
Well, I was, into Satanism and drugs and all that stuff in the 60s, and pretty much into the hippie culture and stuff, and going to college. Everybody went to college to avoid the draft. And I was in college and just pursuing my career as an occultist. I'd been studying the occult since I was about 13. I was doing a lot of dope and drinking a lot of booze and partying it up, and all of a sudden I started getting accosted by these Jesus freaks.
When, before you became a Christian, or before you accepted the Lord, and you were into the occult and all of this, how did you feel? I mean, did you feel as, what I'm trying to say is, were you searching, or did they just approach you and you were an unwilling subject?
I guess I was searching, yeah. I was searching for some kind of spiritual truth. And I didn't know about Jesus and the Holy Spirit, really. I mean, I knew about religion, but I didn't know about Jesus and the Holy Spirit, if you follow what I mean. And what I did was I just started searching in all kinds of ways to see if I could find some spirituality in the world. And by the time I got on drugs, by the time I was shooting $125 worth of heroin a day, I didn't care if there was a God or not, particularly. I was just out there,
Okay, speaking of all this collection of your ministries, I've been kind of curious. Are all of these true stories, or do you parabolize to help get your message across?
You mean the stories about things that have happened to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all true stories. The only thing I parabolize is the Bible. And I don't do it exactly the King James Version. As a matter of fact, people have called my Bible stories the butchered Bible tales, But no, the stories that I tell them in a funny and humorous way. But yeah, all of them have happened to me. As a matter of fact, I have never preached about anything I haven't experienced. Ever. Even backsliding. No.
Here he is in the popular 2020 show as an expert witness.
They wouldn't leave him alone.
Mike Warnke is a former Satanist. Today he's a successful comedian, preaching Christianity in the form of humor. But back in the 60s, he was one of Satanism's high priests.
The things that you would see in a satanic altar.
He showed us what a satanic temple might resemble, and typical implements used to worship the devil.
The bones usually are used in a ceremony that calls for telling the future with the bones or a part of the deceased person.
He also explained what attracted him to Satanism.
I was basically drawn into it when I was young, just wanting to be somebody special. I just wanted to be different than everybody and have something that was special that everybody, looked up to. This is to create for whoever's practicing a magical atmosphere.
The colors mean anything?
Yeah, the red ones would be used for some types of sexual rituals, people who are doing sexual magic. This would be used for ordinary ceremonies and also for ceremonies where you'd be throwing a curse on somebody. I have an old 3-inch scar here on my wrist where my friends used to cut my arm open and bleed my blood into a cup and drink it mixed with wine and urine 4 times a year as a ceremony to Satan. It wasn't that a demon jumped out of the TV and grabbed me by the face and dragged me down the road and forced me to join the Church of Satan. It was just that there were certain things in this program that piqued my interest, and then I decided to study more on my own. And if the devil has PR, then it is, cinema.
Hi, this is Tom Dooley from the Christian Communication Center, inviting you to join us now as we take a brand new look at Halloween.
Did you get that? New. A new look at Halloween.
We've heard a lot of interesting things about Satanism and the occult. At the beginning of our program, I told you we'd be taking a brand new look at Halloween. Well, what you've heard so far is all part of it and necessary for background. Now, in just a moment, Mike will begin to explain what all this has to do with the celebration of Halloween. So stay with us as we continue with a Christian perspective on Halloween.
Let me give you a little background on Halloween. I have a pretty extensive library of research material, and today I just looked up some facts about Halloween, and I knew these facts anyway, but I thought, if I could quote some material here from books like the Encyclopedia of the Occult, or the Satanic Bible, Dictionary of Satanism, and other books that are written by the Satanists that would probably give people an idea of what Halloween is viewed as from their perspective. To us, it's just a fun holiday. Every witch had its familiar, and even when I was in witchcraft, we all had familiars. And I had a black cat. A friend of mine had an owl, another person had a dog. But these animals were believed by us and prayed. We prayed that these animals would be embodied by a demon spirit, and then this spirit would be our familiar spirit and our demon helper. And these cats then were able to transform themselves into black horses on Halloween and carry their mistresses to these huge Halloween parties. And I quote the Satanic Bible, quote, and this is Anton Sandor LaVey writing, who's the head of the Church of Satan. After one's own birthday, the two major satanic holidays are Walpurgis Night, which is the spring festival, and it takes place around the 30th of April, and Halloween, or All Hallows Eve. And this is to quote Anton LaVey. And this was a night, like I say, to safeguard your home against demons and stuff. And this, in modern uses, is just a fun thing. But it is the only one of these holidays that has really, in my opinion, kept the pagan connotation of what it's for. The only one of the holidays that we have, seasonal holidays that we have, that really has kept the pagan connotation, like trick-or-treating and the witches and the spooks, the demons, the boogeyman, the devil, it is Halloween. And as such, I think it's one that we could do without, personally. I know a lot of people say, well, what do I tell my kids? Everybody else's kids trick-or-treat. Well, first of all, I wouldn't let my kids trick-or-treat because there's too many cuckoos out there putting razor blades in apples and LSD on cookies and dope and stuff, and a lot of flakes out, hurting kids on Halloween, so I wouldn't let my children trick-or-treat. And I have some, so I know what I'm talking about. And the other thing is, I know that we go along with a lot of concepts that have been handed down as traditional, but, we have to take a stand somewhere. It's like...
What? No more trick-or-treating or dressing up in costumes? Sounds like we're trying to take all the fun out. You may ask, are we supposed to just forget it and pretend like it never was? Now, that'd be kind of hard to do, wouldn't it? But still, in all, if what Mike says is true, and the devil thinks of Halloween as his special holiday, then we as Christians certainly don't want to give Satan any shelter, do we? And that's exactly what we're talking about. The important thing to remember here is that it's not what we think Halloween is, it's what the devil thinks of it, and how the devil relates to Halloween that's important. And what's even more important is how we as Christians celebrate this time of year. Do we continue to support Satan by helping him celebrate one of his high holidays? Or do we begin our own brand new holiday? Mike Warnke has some ideas about a new Christian holiday and how to celebrate it. And that's coming up next. So stay with us as we continue with a Christian perspective.